an astronomer and a data scientist, I always had to create visualizations of the data that I was investigating. And while I was a data scientist, I was working as a consultant. So we were always at different clients every few weeks. And because they were paying a lot of money for us, we had to do a lot of presentations to show our progress. So I've made lots of PowerPoint slide decks. And for that, you kind of want to show visuals instead of tables with numbers. And so I was already making a lot of sort of more simple visualizations using R, which is sort of the programming language that I preferred during data scientist years. And as I got better at the data science part and machine learning, just learning throughout the years, my sort of visualizations also became more complex, trying to explain the more complex analyses. And at some point, I felt that I wasn't being, I didn't get quite the same amount of passion from doing another predictive model or customer segmentation that I had at the start. And actually then at a conference, a data science conference, there was also this data design track. And I was sitting there in the room waiting for the next talk. And the person had on their first slide, he had the job title, data visualization specialist. And it kind of like hit me like lightning. It's like, wait a minute, data visualization is a thing on its own. You can do just specialized just in that, and from that moment I knew that that's where my passion was. I started out a lot with two things. So I read a lot of books about best practices from really the experts in the field, and then on the other hand I also wanted to learn new tools. So I was already using R for data science things, and I kept on using that really for the data preparation and getting a first sense of it. But I also taught myself HTML, CSS, and JavaScript specifically so I could start using D3.js, which is a JavaScript library that has become really the standard for data visualization online and lets you do amazing things with interactivity and animations. And it just blew my mind when I first saw that. What I definitely think is by far the most important for people coming in from the design side is getting a really good grasp of handling data, because data visualization really stands and falls with the data. And I feel that if you only have a very vague, like if you're scared of the words average and standard deviation, then you will never really get beyond that point of infographics where it's only a few numbers representing something. But true data visualization is about so much bigger data sets that have more stories than just one number. So I would definitely suggest to do sort of an introduction to statistics kind of course, or some sort of data wrangling kind of course that sometimes is the start of data science. I mean, you don't have to do the entire data science part, really. It's just about getting a good grasp of learning how to wrangle data or understanding data, what it has to say, what to look out for, how to get a sense, like making histograms to figure out how a variable looks or other things. And I also can definitely, I know this sounds scary to some, but I can definitely advise you to learn a little bit of programming. Again, R or Python are really good things. I would say R for designers because it's easier, friendlier to get into, so that you can actually do this data wrangling on a programming basis. You can do a lot in Excel with manual labor, but at some point it's probably better if you have like more 10,000 rows or more complex things that you can just script it a little bit, so that and even if something changes to the data, you run the script again without having no issues. So I can definitely advise learning data wrangling and learning a little bit of programming in R to wrangle that data. So the collaborations that I enjoy the most is where people from different fields come together. So I don't generally, in terms of collaborations, work with people that do have the exact same skill set that I have, working on the exact same visualization. And that's because I never quite know at the start how it's going to look. I really need to iterate and be with the visualization as it evolves. So it's very hard to sort of do that together with somebody else, except if that other person is just providing feedback and I can implement that as I see fit. But I do like working with journalists, for example, that they already kind of have a better idea of where the interesting story points would be, or they write the text around the input. Like I might have done a bigger project where I did a really big analysis, and then together with journalists, they kind of figured out like, oh, these particular points are interesting and we'll tell this story about them. I've also worked with animators or artists, because like I would have my visualization and they would provide an interesting sort of animation to go with that. So I also quite like that, working together with fields that are where I'm not good at all.